reasons. And not all of those are being laid off. There's a lot of people that I've worked with, and just a lot of people in general. They leave because of family. They leave to find a better job. Believe it or not, there's a lot of that happening right now. They leave because they're moving out of town. They leave because they're pregnant and they decide to stay home after the children are born. There's a lot of reasons why people leave. And it used to be a decade ago that I could quote that the average tenure for someone in one employer is 7 to 10 years. And I know last year I was quoting, and even beginning of this year, I was quoting the average tenure is 4 years. I read late this summer that now the average tenure is 3 years. So what does that mean across the board? If you look at across the board average, that means that there is a 33% turnover in companies. Now, of course, that varies widely when it comes to different industries, but a 33% turnover means that a good chunk of those need to be filled because somebody else left. And in fact, right now I would say about 1/5 to 1/4 of my clients are getting jobs created for them that didn't exist before. And then I've got another, I would say 40 or 50% that are getting jobs that were emptied by someone else. And then there is just the plain addition to staff that they're getting where they have actually included an addition to staff, I should say, which is different than having jobs created for them. The ones that are getting jobs created for them, the employer didn't intend on creating a position at that moment. But when they saw their resume come by, it's kind of a too good to pass up, I really want this person on my team kind of situation. And also, if you position yourself as an investment rather than just prospecting for a job, you'll find that you'll get a job more quickly. You get a lot more interviews. But it's all about how you position yourself. So going back to employers and the stock market, don't know that the 8.6% unemployment rate isn't really an indication of what's going on in the job market. I wanted to share with you my thoughts on what's going on. You really have to look at the full Bureau of Labor Statistics report in order to understand the full meaning of what's going on in the job market. And it's really dry. It's even written in just looks like a typewriter, and it's all gray. It looks like an old typewritten report. But you can go to BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, bls.gov, and you can see the most recent. It'll take you straight to that page of the November 2011 report. You know, it's worth reading. I think it's kind of a dry read, like I said, but it's interesting to me. What you may have read in some of the news releases out there is that a major contributor to that drop is that 350,000 people dropped out. And that means that they were looking for a job in October and before, and in November they decided to give up. And what I see out there in a lot of news stories is that, well, it's because of the holidays. But what they don't understand is that 350,000 that dropped out, that is seasonally adjusted. In other words, that's above and beyond what always happens around the holidays. So that's a lot of people that have dropped out. And it's probably because of another number that you find hidden in there in another page, and that is the average length of unemployment in the United States went from 40 weeks to 41.1 weeks in length. Now, what that means is that's almost 10 months for an average. And really, this week increase is a trend that we've seen throughout this year. I think there were 1, maybe 2 months of the year where the number stayed steady, but for the most part, the number of weeks that people have been unemployed by the average are going up 1 week per month. And it's not pretty. That's not pretty. And just knowing that the average is 10 months is kind of disheartening. Also know that it is skewed toward most of the jobs out there, which are lower-level jobs. That includes Walmart greeters and McDonald's workers. That's inclusive of blue-collar, white-collar, no-collar, anybody out there that has a job. So it does take a lot less time to get a lower paying position than it does a higher paying position. And I know a lot of you that are listening either make six figures now or are well positioned to make six figures in your next job. So I think that the media blows the decrease from 9% to 8.6% out of proportion, because any good news, actually any news at all, I think that they sensationalize. And anytime you have slightly good news, they blow it up into really good news. Some other statistics that I know, over 55 right now, which a lot of my clients are, the average is 14 months. I believe that's right at 14 months. I also read recently that the AARP says that over 55 senior level and executives, I believe they say executives, are finding jobs in 2 to 2.5 years. Now, it doesn't say that they're unemployed, so I can't guarantee that that's a length of unemployment, but from the AARP, over 55 executives take 2 to 2.5 years to find a position. That's really, it hurts me a lot to hear that, because I do know that a lot of my clients come to me having been unemployed sometimes since 2009, but oftentimes 12 to 18 months before they come and see me. And so when I start a search with them, it really is from scratch. But that's a job search from scratch that gets filled within 4 weeks to 12 weeks almost all the time, if they do what I tell them to do. And also know that, or keep in mind that at $120,000 a year, you're missing out on $10,000 a month that you don't have. And I know I don't have to drive that point home because you're feeling that in your pocketbook. But the length of unemployment that you have really makes a substantial difference, not only in your quality of life right now, but in your retirement and in your future earnings and in any kind of life goals that you have that require an investment. So there's some depressing news. I just wanted to let you know the true picture of what's going on out there. Things that will work in your favor. Now, this is the reason that you're listening to this call. 30 to 50% of competition take the days off, and those are your competition. Keep that in mind. You have a nice playing field out there during the month of December. People that I talk with, usually in October and November, they actually tell me, well, I'm assuming, Tammy, that we don't really start a search until after the first of the year because there's really no reason to start a search during the holidays, right? And I always tell them, no. You actually have to double up or maybe triple up on the amount of searching that you do in December to make it work in January. If you do that, there's a greater likelihood that you're going to get hired in January versus the other months of the year. Now, what I have seen is that historically, and I think because of the good news, that this may be true for this year, and I think that it might even exceed that. I have read historically 10 to 12% of all hires are done in the month of January. And that doesn't sound like a lot until you realize that if you take 100% and divide it by 12 months, the average is 8.3. So what you're talking about with 10 to 12% of all hires in January is that there's a 25 to 50% increase than the regular average month. That's a huge amount, and people don't realize how big January is in hiring. Okay? To sum up that, there's much less competition. It's a perfect time to talk with employers. You don't, and January is the biggest hiring month of the year, so it is another perfect time to talk with employers. So here's some really important things that you can do to take advantage of December that I want to talk with you about. First, I want you to make sure, if you're going to create a search that works, you have to make sure the basic fundamentals are taken care of. And this is something that you can do in December so that in 2012 you are greatly prepared and you are ready to look for companies differently. But first, you need to make sure you have a good online presence. That begins with a robust LinkedIn profile. And if you've been following me for a number of months, you know that I've had 2 different webinars on creating LinkedIn profiles that have been talking about that. In a LinkedIn profile, I want you to apply for a lot of groups. And when I say apply, some of them actually take, you just can't join them. They have to take approval. But I haven't had anybody not approve me for a group that I have joined. So the way that you do that is in your LinkedIn profile. And by the way, I know there are people out there that don't have LinkedIn profiles. It is a given that you have a LinkedIn profile. And it is a given that you have your picture up there. That's really important. But in order to join a lot of groups, there is a search field in the upper right-hand corner. And you can change what it's defaulted to from people to groups. And then you put in some keywords, some search words in order to find the groups. These can be industry associations that you want to get into. Let's say that you want to switch industries. What industries are you looking for? Join those industry associations. And you can do it for multiple industries. Job searching organizations or job clubs. Here in Kansas City, we have a lot of job clubs available. Outside of Kansas City, they're not so popular. But there are job searching organizations, both nationwide and local, that you can be a part of. And by the way, when you're in any of these groups, be known, be seen. In other words, find articles that are out there and post them to those groups. And that way, people see your little tagline. They see your name, and they see what you want to do every time you post it. And some of these groups have thousands of members. So every time you post something, even if it's an opinion about something that someone else has posted, your name is seen by thousands of people. And they're not all job seekers, too. Some of them are people in places of influence. Groups for areas of expertise, such as if you're an accountant, there are groups for accounting professionals. If you are a marketer, there are groups for marketing professionals. For that, you can, in looking at what you've got there, you look at industry trends or function trends. What's going on out in accounting right now, and buzzwords for accounting that you're not familiar with. Keep up with the trends of your areas of expertise, and keep up with the trends of the industries. If you're changing industries, watch those. It might be articles, it might be white papers, or just discussions that are coming about so that you can read the jargon and read the most recent news and the trends that are happening in your target industries. Okay?